Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo with Wood. And this is going to be a different video than you typically see here on Hobo with Wood, because I'm not going to be talking about projects or any designs in Lightburn. I'm going to talk, I teased you a little bit in one of the live streams on Laser Maker's Realm about having a special guest on the channel, and today's that day. Today is that video. I mentioned that while we were at the Lightburn Experience in Illinois, that I didn't necessarily have the greatest experience. I had higher hopes in my mind about what it was going to be. I was hoping to see more interaction with the developers and the actual time with the support people and get things straightened out, and it just wasn't all that. But what was impressive and what was nice to see was all the different vendors there who were there that supported Lightburn with their different products. There was material people there. There were a whole bunch of different laser people there, of course. And it was probably what you would expect to see in a convention type environment, except for one thing, one booth. And I was kind of blown away by this booth. Now, I'm a diode user. You guys know that if you've been watching the channel. Diodes is all I have. Diodes is all I've been working with now for a little over a year. I have very limited knowledge on fiber lasers. I've got a CO2, but I only use it to cut acrylic. But the fibers and the galvos and all that kind of stuff, and all, I know this much about them. I'd like to know more, but I love the abilities that they have, but very limited knowledge. So this particular booth had CO2s and fibers there on display. And so since I am curious about them, I kind of started watching, but that's not even what got my attention. They were demonstrating these in real time there and creating projects and actually they're giving away tumblers and ID badges and all kinds of things, setting them up in Lightburn, doing the projects, engraving them, knocking them out right there while you're waiting. And yet that wasn't the most impressive thing about it. The person doing all this was also fielding questions from people there in the convention about the lasers, both the CO2 and the fiber. And he was answering all these questions intelligently and professionally, and doing all the work at the same time. And I mean, doing all the work, setting up the rotary, getting it all leveled up, centered up, focused, and everything, and taking them out, cleaning them, polishing them, presenting the finished project, all while talking to folks about the product. And yet that still wasn't the most impressive thing about what I'm telling you. The most impressive thing about it was the young man himself. And I'm going to bring him in here now, so you guys have the opportunity to meet the same person that I did. And his name is Aiden. So everybody, I want you guys to meet Aiden. Say hello, Aiden. Hey, good to see you, Aiden. So what have you been up to since the Lightburn Experience?
I've been 3D printing, lasering, building stuff.
3D printing and lasering. Cool. All right. So I'm guessing that when you popped up on screen, you were probably not what everybody was expecting to see today. How old are you, Aiden?
I'm 10 years old.
10 years old. And what grade are you in?
I'm in 5th grade.
5th grade. Wow. So I really was impressed with you and your level of professionalism. And I watched people intentionally. There was one fella that I think he was testing you. He was wanting to see if you were everything you presented yourself as. He actually tried to ask you a trick question. I don't know if you remember this or not. This one guy walked up to you while you were using the CO2 laser to engrave. I think he might have been engraving my tumbler. And he asked you about the laser on the CO2 and about that red laser and the color of the laser. And you were like, well, that's not actually the laser. That's just the spot, the guide, and the laser is not really red. And he thought he was going to trip you up, but you knew all the right answers. And do you remember talking to that guy?
Yes, I do.
And you had he didn't trip you up at all. You just, no, that's not how it works. And you just corrected him and informed him, I should say, and continued right on with the job. And I was like, this kid's cool. So I'm glad that you got to be here today. I'm glad that your parents allowed me to interview. The name I've given you is Awesome Aiden, because I thought everything you was doing was completely awesome. So tell me, Aiden, what is an average day for Aiden? What does Aiden do during the day?
So usually I'll go to school, then I'll go to then my mom will pick me up from school. No, she'll pick me up off the bus. And then I'll come to work. I'll do 3D printing, lasering, um, play. I'll play.
Very good. Now, speaking of play, is there anything that you like to do other than create lasers or with lasers and 3D printing? Do you play any sports or games or what are your extracurricular activities?
I play chess, tic-tac-toe, soccer.
Soccer. You a big soccer fan?
Yes.
And people all over the world watch this channel, and we call it soccer, but over there, everywhere else in the world, they call it what?
Football.
Football. There we go. And what position do you like to play in football?
Sweeper or defender?
Very good. All right. So, do you enjoy going to these conventions, or are you forced to by those terrible parents that make you work all the time?
No. I say I would love to go. Usually I'd love to go. Sometimes if it's like a 16-hour drive, like when we go
Ooh.
to Florida, a convention in Florida or something, that maybe I don't want to go, and they don't force me to. I'll probably just stay with like my sister.
Okay. And that was going to be something I asked you if you had any other brothers and sisters, and you just got the one sister?
I have two sisters. One's in Italy right now, and then
Oh,
the
cool.
other one on her own in her duplex.
So, do they play with the lasers, or are you the only laser creator?
They get help. They get help. They usually get help from a dad or someone here that can help them,
Very good.
but they don't usually run it by themselves.
All right. Now you mentioned 3D printing, so that's something I've not done yet, and I do want to get into doing it. But I'm kind of like you. You may not appreciate this statement yet, but there will become a day when you will. My mentality is you buy once and cry once, and what I mean by that is you can find a lot of 3D printers online for a couple $100, but they're little. I call them toys. They can only make projects this big, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I see people who are printing like one. I don't know if you ever seen Jerry Knapp. He is a 3D printer in Vegas. He's printing a 7-foot tall alien. All right. 7-foot tall. Well, he's got massive projects. What you got there? Yeah, see, that's cool. That's a big 3D print. Now, was that done in a single job?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Single.
And see, I want a printer that can do stuff like that, and I haven't gotten one yet. And I'm a little bit anxious about spending that much money. Articulated. Now, that's cool. Now, would you rather 3D print than laser?
No. I would probably take lasers over 3D printing.
So is there now when you do your creations like that, are those files that you've just downloaded and print them out, or do you create a lot of that stuff?
No, I usually get this off of websites, but sometimes I do make custom things.
Okay. What with your laser projects, do you do any custom laser designs?
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
I
Now,
do. Usually it's like these special parts for a stand or something.
okay, so there's a need for something, and you'll figure out and engineer it, design it, and create it. Is that right?
Yes. Yes,
Wow.
that's right.
You're a smart little fellow. Now, in fact, I don't know if this is a compliment or not. You tell me. If I said that you reminded me of young Sheldon, is that do you think that's a compliment or an insult?
It's a compliment.
Okay.
I actually get called by it. I get called by young Sheldon by my family.
So yeah. All right. So do you drive? Is there anything that you do that's quirky like young Sheldon that drives your family nuts?
Eh, sometimes I'm telling him like, you probably can't do that.
Oh, okay.
Or I kind of correct my dad sometimes when he's using the lasers.
All right. Well, I'm sure that Dad appreciates it on some level.
Yes.
Some level, he appreciates it. So you're 10 years old, and you said you're what, in the 5th grade?
Yes.
So 5th grade is a long way away, it seems like, from graduating, but it really isn't. You'll be out of high school before you can blink your eyes. It seems like it's going to be an eternity, but you'll be out like that. Have you thought about anything you want to do once you get done with school? Are you planning to go to college? You're going to be a rocket scientist, or what are you going to do? You thought about it?
I'm probably going to build lasers. I'm probably just gonna have a job, and I'm probably gonna play around with 3D printers, lasers, have a side hustle as selling 3D printers, or making 3D stuff with our 3D printer.
So
For a factor, we bought like 10 3D printers, and
okay,
what we're doing is we're selling them for $100, and we're still making money off that because
all
they've
right,
already been. It's a side hustle, and we're doing really good. We sold one.
good, very good. So that was going to be what I was going to ask you next. So it sounds like you kind of like the idea of moving into the family business, and you're going to integrate the 3D printing into it. And I like the fact that your mom and dad are having these lasers assembled here in the U.S. So we're going to talk to them here in a few minutes about that, and that's cool. And the fact that you're going to incorporate 3D printing. Now, have you ever worked with diode lasers, or is that beneath you?
Diode. We've not worked with diodes. Is Glowforge diode? No. Okay, then no, we have not done anything.
Yeah, and diodes have their limitations, but for a lot of folks like me, say I had never used a laser in my entire life until June of last year, 2022. That was the first time I'd ever seen or touched a laser, and I taught myself how to use Lightburn by watching YouTube videos. How did you learn to use Lightburn?
Mostly through practice and learning, really.
Very good. Did you watch any videos, or you just got in there and started doing it?
No, I got taught by our workers or family members.
Okay. All right. So you did have some help and some learning, but you mastered it pretty quick, I bet.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what young Sheldon would do. He'd to wrap his mind around it in a second and be able to do anything he wanted to with it. So that's pretty cool. All right. So is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you would like the people to know that about Aiden? Is there anything I didn't ask you about? You say, hey, you know what? Let me tell you about this.
Can I throw in a fact?
Yeah, please.
Did you know when you're lasering, you don't actually waste that much material?
You broke up just a little bit. When you're actually lasering, you what?
You don't waste that much material.
Okay. Why is that?
The beam that comes out of a glass tube, it actually is so small, and then when it burns through, it doesn't really have much material loss.
Right. The beam size, the kerf on it is so small that there's minimal loss on it. Very good. Very good. In fact, that's something that I've been playing with recently. Is I've been playing with learning what the kerf is on each of my lasers, because the lasers will vary on their beam size. And when I'm making my boxes, I like to make them with a very tight friction fit where they need very little glue to even hold together. So I've been working on figuring out that kerf.
And also, it depends on your lens of how big your dot is on your
On the surface of the
spot size.
yeah.
Spot size.
So I'm going to show you now. I gave you one of the projects that I built
Yes.
whenever I was up there at LBX, because you mentioned you like playing checkers and tic-tac-toe, and I had just happened to have built a nice 2-in-1 game board, and I was so blown away by you. I was more than happy to present you with that. But let me show you what I've done since I've been back. And I'm going to make this full screen, I hope, and we'll bring you back here. Let's see if I can do this right.
Okay.
All right. So are you familiar with Patreon?
No.
Nope. Well, I tell you what, we're going to educate you about that, because that might be something that mom and dad want to get you involved in, because that could be a big thing for you, I promise. But Patreon is where people help support my channel by being a monthly contributor. They donate to my channel monthly and help me out financially to help me buy my materials and keep developing new projects. Well, in the month of November, I promised them I would finish a project that I've been working on for months. And my biggest problem was finding a vessel, a delivery vessel. And this will make sense in a second. But I finally found the right jar and got this thing put together. And I gave this file to all of my patrons. And I'm going to put the file on my website and sell this file on my website for probably about $15, maybe $20 for the file. And I think this is pretty cool. I've seen some of this stuff on Amazon, but I've not seen anything quite like this. It is a functioning gumball machine. You actually have a jar up top there that holds all your gumballs, and a crank here on the side. And as you turn it, there's an agitator that will bounce the gumballs around. It'll pick up a gumball and then spit it out.
It is cool.
Spit it out. So what I'm going to do is see here, put you back on here. I hope. There we go. Nope. Let's not do that screen. Let's do that screen. I'm going to email this file to you that you can cut out on the laser and tell you about the part number. I get these jars at Hobby Lobby. I don't know. You got Hobby Lobbies up in there in Ohio?
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll send you this file, and if you wanted to, you could make that yourself too, and that's pretty cool. And this is actually something that I think you would enjoy, because I haven't glued this one together yet, so I can still show you. The box has got a little sliding board inside there and a gear mechanism on the side that the handle turns, and that gear has to go in and mesh with the gear that's in here. And when you turn it, it turns this whole mechanism. And this would normally be glued to the box. So you'd put the whole box upside down and screw it together. But it's a fully functioning machine. It's got, gears in here and deposit holes and all that. So I don't know, maybe would you enjoy building something like that?
Yeah, I probably would.
And I bet you there's something else you could do too. You could probably improve it. So when you do get the file, if you go, hey, Steve, I think if you did this, it might be better. My feelings won't be hurt if you make it better. Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Well, Aiden, I'm so glad that you were able to spend time with me and everybody today. And I mentioned something to your dad while I was there at Lightburn Experience that I said, you know what? I get my viewers all the time will tell me, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know, if Aiden can do it, anybody can do it. And I, you know, and I meant that 100% as a compliment, because here, if this young man, a 10-year-old, can take this and knock this out, you have no reason at all to tell me you can't do something. It's a matter of, you know, are you willing to spend the time to learn, be patient, pay attention to what you're doing? Details matter. And so I was extremely blown away by you. And you made my trip to, because you know how you feel about driving to Florida sometimes. You don't really like doing that.
Yes.
Well, young man, if you had not been there at that convention, I would have been so upset about my drive to Illinois, because I drove from North Carolina. And I don't know if you've seen that big camper out in the parking lot at the convention, but I towed my camper up there, and that's where I stayed in the parking lot. So, you know, that was a long haul for me, and you made the trip worth it. So thank you. Thank you for being Aiden. Thank you for coming on the channel today. And now, if Mom and Dad want to talk to me a little bit about Rabbit Laser, we'll talk about Rabbit Laser and what that's all about.
Okay.
All right, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't go too far away.
All right. So the screen says Aiden. You're not Aiden. Who are you, sir?
I'm not Aiden. Well, my name is Ray Scott. I obviously am here at Rabbit Laser. You can see that we're in our demonstration room. So there's a couple laser machines behind us, but we also have the fiber laser, the same one that he was using at the expo. Some different ones. There's actually, I think, 7 laser machines here in the room. And this is so that somebody can come to visit us, and they're telling us that they're interested in a certain machine, and we go over to that machine. So it's not a bait and switch of like, oh, I want this one, but we're going to show you a better one. No, we're going to show you the one that you're interested in, or the one that actually does the work for you. So Rabbit Laser is a company that I started about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And the whole point of it was that I wanted to be able to do stuff for my hobby, but I couldn't afford a really expensive laser. So I wanted something that was economical, did really good quality, but I didn't need super precision. And I found that with a little bit of improving this and improving that, that we could make a really high quality machine that was easily within a hobby, you know, an extreme hobby, the budget. And it turned my hobby into into a business of, I'm going to be selling machines instead of selling robot toys. So my fun hobby turned into a fun work, and still much lots of fun. I'm glad that I've been able to bring my family into this. My wife is the operations manager, so that's Carol. Aiden, he's only 10 years old, and already he's very excited. He loves working with this. And your comment earlier was to say that if Aiden can do this, anybody can do this. But I think Aiden's restrictions are that he feels like he's too small to reach deep into this big machine. And it's actually one of the machines that he likes the most. Are these 24 by 36 or 36 by 51 inch machines, because they can cut through the material.
Right.
We're really big on using scrap material and building some fun project. So Aiden has built all kinds of stuff for his friends, school teachers, some other people that he's just doing it because he enjoys it. And because he enjoys that, he's been able to learn it faster, and it's become very intuitive for him. So yeah, he feels like he's smaller, like he's not going to be able to lift the lid, but the lids aren't that heavy. And where at first it might feel intimidating, but now he's in here and he uses the machine. And like he said, he runs the equipment, and Mom is within 30 feet. And he's had enough training and practice that he does run the machine by himself.
Nice.
So he really does that. Loves it. Here at the business, it's not just family. We do have other employees. We have a 10,000 square foot building right now, and we're looking to we grew into this one, and we're probably going to grow into a bigger one. So we do sell the fiber machines, CO2 laser machines for cutting non-metals, and we do have some machines now that can cut metals.
But Rabbit Laser's been in business for 20 years.
Yes.
Wow. And say I used to be. I'm a broken down auto mechanic. I had some health issues back in 19 that forced me out of my business, auto repair business, and I was bored out of my tears and looking for something to do. And a friend suggested, you ought to try these lasers. They're pretty cool these days. And that morphed into this. And never would have guessed it was going to go there. But I learned to do what I do by watching YouTube. And the one comment you made a minute ago about it's something that is really super fun and that you love to do, that's huge in being successful. But one thing that I did when I was at my auto repair shop, I sold tires, was my main thing, was a tire store. But I made it a point that every single tire that I had on my wall for display was made in the USA. And that is challenging to do in today's world. So when I seen Rabbit Laser USA and the fact that you assemble these products here in the USA, I was really happy and glad to see that. Because when I first got my first lasers, I didn't see anything about US lasers. Everything come out of China. So why do you assemble in the USA?
Okay, so I want to make sure we're clear. There's no misunderstanding. The machines are dominantly made in China.
Okay.
All the parts are made in China. We started off where I wanted to design my own laser machine, and I was going to make it in the United States. And I realized that this is going to be really expensive. So what I started doing was looking around for who made stuff in the United States. And I run into Epilogue and Universal and New Hermes and Sign Warehouse and those places. And I felt that for a hobby budget, it was just way too expensive. So I started looking for alternatives. And I figured, they got to have something in China, parts, whatever. And they had a decent laser. So myself as an engineer and my wife as an engineer, we started to send recommendations for design improvements and sent those back to China. They started improving stuff, but really it wasn't good enough for our standard. So we would bring a laser machine here, and we have pages of improvements to do, changes, and as we start making these changes, we would take those design changes, document them as well as we could, and we send the information back to our partners in China and say, hey, can you make this change? Can you make this better? And they do try, but when the machine comes to the United States, it's undoubtable that we have to make improvements. And there's a lot of customers that want something customized.
Right.
Because of those extra requirements, we've had people that wanted big barrels, like 22 inches tall, and there aren't any import or even standard American machines that are going to do a 22-inch tall barrel. So we had to modify a machine and make it work for doing whiskey barrels.
Wow.
It's some of the fun stuff is to find what a customer needs and to adapt the machine to work with their products. Whether it's the ability to stay in focus, to put a large item in it, to pass a product front to back, making it easier to see into the machine. There's so many things that we've been trying to improve. The machines do arrive in the United States, mostly assembled, but there are plenty of things that we have to do. I think one of the biggest advantages that Rabbit Laser USA provides to the customer is the fact that every laser machine is delivered to the customer by a technician, whether it's me or one of the other guys, and we deliver it or it's sent by truck, and we follow the machine to the customer. We get there, we set it up, make sure it's aligned, calibrated, fully functional, and then we use that laser machine. We install Lightburn software, and we show the customer how to run their projects. So there's no doubt about, is this laser machine going to work by the end of the day? And that customer says, well, I'm working on this project. Can you focus our training around my project? Yes, sir, we can.
So you or someone from the company hand delivers it, sets it up, and it's fully functional before you leave.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, that's huge. Now, what about support after you've gone back to Ohio?
We tell everybody that what you learn in one day, it's a lot of information. So we want to make sure that they know they've always got support with us. And that is for the life of the machine. As long as they want to call, then it's not something that they pay for monthly or yearly. It's just that we know this machine is from Rabbit Laser, and we're gonna answer your questions. Now, with a proper amount of training up front, a lot of people, they're set on their own learning curve, and they know, hey, they can answer their own questions. But there's always going to be times when people, they just need a little bit of help. And we tell them the best thing they can do is call. That's an immediate answer. But actually, the best thing they can do is send an email. With an email, they can describe what their problem is. They can send us a copy of their project. They can take pictures. And they've really described everything that they're going through. And what's really funny is that by the time they've calmed down and described their problem, they answer their own questions.
They get there, they work it out. Yeah.
They work it out, and it's funny. But we still tell them, hey, finish sending me this email. I want to hear about what your projects are, what you've been building, and what answer you came to, because I want to make sure it's really solved. Like I said, a lot of people, they'll have questions. So just call, answer, we'll answer the question. And every once in a while, we'll have people that send text messages, and they'll send a picture. And if it comes down to it, we'll just switch over to doing FaceTime on the iPhone. And it's like, hey, what color is that wire? Check this wire. Check the voltage. Show me your software. Let me connect to your computer through the internet, and we'll solve it.
So yeah, and that's, those are more along the lines of tech support, and that's cool that you're there for them pretty much as long as they need it. But what about warranty on the lasers?
The warranties, that's one of those funny things that a lot of times you read the paperwork and it says you've got a 1-year warranty, and it says you got 90 days on the optics and stuff like that. But isn't that really arbitrary? And it shouldn't be a hard-lined thing, because we feel like we're responsible for it, and that's my laser machine that these other people have. Now, granted, they bought it, they own it, but we want to make sure that, I don't care if it's been a year or a year and 2 months. If something goes wrong, we want to make it right.
But they do have a bit of responsibility owning the laser, maintaining the laser, and they can't just get it and not maintain it and then expect you to make it good 2 days later after they've never cleaned it, never touched it, nothing, So,
well, yeah, you're right. People, they need to be reasonable about what they're doing. You take care of your laser, you clean it, you do some alignment. But I think when you're talking about warranty, it's like, hey, the power supply failed, or a laser tube isn't acting up to my expectation. If there's something like, hey, it just needs cleaned, let's talk you through it. Let's make sure that we're really taking care of it. A lot of people, especially school teachers, I got to pick on them because they don't have time to clean, or they're overwhelmed with taking care of our kids, and so they don't spend enough time cleaning the laser machine. And because we're so interested in schools and educationals that we want them to do it. A lot of times we'll stop by and just show them, hey, it's been 6 months, it's been a year. We want to help you make sure that this is clean. It's been 2 years, 3 years.
right.
Let me show you how to clean your mirrors without having to replace them.
Right.
So, just to talk about the schools again, we donate laser machines to schools. Our first donation went to the school that I graduated from. Our second school that we donated to was his school.
My school? Or my mom's school.
And the third one was the school that my wife went to. And the reason we donated to him first, or the second, was that we wanted to make sure that when my daughters were at that grade level, that the instructor was educated enough that he knew how to use the laser machines, and that he would be able to teach them and to have more tools to get them a better education. And now that Aiden's getting towards that class or that grade level, I don't think he really needs the training, from that laser at his school. But it's really nice to know it's there. We have donated about 12 laser machines, and we're just kind of spiraling around our our headquarters here and
Right.
donating to as many local schools as we can.
Yeah, because like you said, you also like the ability to drop in and help maintain or look at, and it'd be kind of hard to do that if you donated to a laser to somebody down in San Jose, California.
Well, we did donate to somebody in Pennsylvania, up in Dayton, uh, gosh, Fairfield, Hamilton, Franklin, Middletown.
Oh, we're gonna do
Uh,
one for Deerfield. That's all I know. We're
yeah,
doing for Deerfield.
and down by Forest Fair Mall. What was Forest Fair Mall? We've been donating a lot, and we like to pair up with this local company. It's called Butler Tech, and so our goal is that every school that they sponsor, that they work with, that we also want to be able to have a laser machine with them. Any of the schools that are around the United States, we do make sure that they get a discount. Um, so people that when they call in and they're like, "Hey, what's the best price that you can get us?" Because it's it's kind of their responsibility to like, "Hey, can I get a better price?" And we always do that. We help them out. Schools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, veterans. Because myself, I'm a veteran.
Well, thank you for your service, sir. Appreciate it. Well, I just want to commend you on that young man beside you. I am completely sincere when I say that he was the most impressive thing for me at Lightburn Experience. I appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day and allowing me to introduce the world to awesome Aiden.
Cool. Well, I think Aiden said something earlier about how we've got this little side hustle thing we're playing with.
Oh yeah,
on
the
the
3D
3D
printers.
printer.
Yeah.
So what we did was we bought a bunch of surplus returns for a company local that does 3D printers.
Right.
We got a really good price on them,
Yeah.
and we're going to be fixing them, putting them together, and repairing the damaged problems. And up to Aiden, would you want to send him a printer?
Yeah, we can send them a printer.
If he's interested in a printer, that sounds like a good place to send one.
Cool. All right.
So,
Well, now can I count on Aiden for technical support?
he is my technical support. When it comes to 3D printers, he knows how to do it. He's the one that says using a brim, how thick the layers are supposed to be, and the temperatures for the different filaments. You should see his setup. And I think as a father, I want to make sure that my kid has advantages and that he has those opportunities. And whenever I recognize that, hey, he's got an aptitude for this, then I want to foster that.
Yes.
But man, as far as 3D printing, I never thought he would jump into that so much. As a laser guy, I didn't know that he would jump so much into doing lasers. But I'm proud of him all the way around.
Cool. Now, it's funny how well you know what, if I had a 3D printer, I would have, and I don't know if I would have or not. But one of the most challenging things for me when I did this build was getting the gears. There you go. Getting that right.
Not this.
Yeah. That, yes. Because what would have been perfect there would have been the spherical or the helical or what I forget what they call it, the wedge type gears, instead of, because these are just flat 90-degree angle, and getting that timing right and the angle of attack, all that was a challenge. But if I had 3D printer, I could have just said, okay, and just printed out a great, perfect, mateable, matchable gears. But I like this because it is all wood.
With Aiden, some of the things that we work with is, he realizes that using a laser is one tool, using a 3D printer is another tool. And we started him off with a scroll saw because it's safe. And Oh, he loved doing that. I got some photos that blow your mind. Young young Aiden doing scroll saw work. Um, but yeah, it's another tool, and there are plenty of people out there that have figured out how to get right angle gears interfacing with each other. And like you said before, can we figure out some way to make your designs a little bit better?
Yeah.
I think one of the first thoughts that came to mind is like everybody has a mason jar. Let's see if we can find one that works with a mason jar.
Well, and you could, and mine, the jar that I went with was based on me being lazy. And this, Aiden, I'll tell you a funny story. My mom used to come to me and ask me to help her make all of the projects that she had going on, be it for work or for Sunday school or whatever. And one time I just got frustrated. I said, why do you keep coming to me for help on making these different projects? And she looked at me dead straight in the face and she said, it's because you're the laziest person I know. And I'm like, okay, how's that a good thing? She said, because you're also the most detail-oriented person I know. So if you're going to do something, I know it's going to be right. And because you're lazy, you're going to find the easiest way to do it. So I had already designed the box, and I actually had one version that was actually 3 gears. And I was like, okay, and this is getting ridiculous. And I had all these different variations, but I'm like, my biggest problem with this design was the bottlenecking of the bottles. I'd used different soda bottles, different other types, but as they bottled the bottleneck of the bottle, it would bottleneck the gumballs. And so I said, I got to get a wide mouth jar. But because I already had all this done, I went in search of a jar that would fit it instead of redesigning this for a new jar. And so, yes, a mason jar would work as long as you, like you said, the big 4-inch. And that's the thing. I'm at Hobby Lobby, they had multiple jars that had this opening, and you could interchange any of those. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on the channel. This is my first, Aiden. This is the first time I've ever interviewed anybody. I've talked with different laser guys on their channels and different laser manufacturers from China and stuff. But you're the first guest that I've ever had on my channel, and I can't think of a better first guest than Mr. Aiden. And so thank you for coming on here today.
You're welcome.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap this up because we're pushing 45 minutes, and I'm don't know how many of you guys are still with us, but I've enjoyed my time with Aiden. I hope you guys have enjoyed meeting Aiden and the introduction of Rabbit Laser. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you in the next video. I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood. And who is that over there?
Aiden.
And Ray. Yes. Guys, the information for Rabbit Laser has been scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Go over to rabbitlaserusa.com. Check them out. They got CO2s, fibers, and you just heard it. They're starting to get into 3D printing too. So I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood. And until the next video, I'm out.
Bye.
Bye.